In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, hello everybody, how are you doing? We'll be doing great by the mercy and grace of Almighty Allah. My name's NA Saqib. I'm your IELTS mentor, IELTS trainer. Additionally, been also teaching the students of spoken English for the last 20 years at the platform of Genius Institute, Lahore. Dear friends, we are also professional student visa consultants. We accept your applications for UK, Australia, Canada and America and across Europe. Lots of stories, rather success stories can be found on our YouTube channel, Genius Institute Lahore. We are offering online classes and offline classes, on-campus classes. If you are interested in any one of them, you can contact our number given in the description. My dear friends, my today's lecture would be about IELTS Writing Task 1, about the journal training students. Yes, of course, it's a letter, you got it. So we're going to discuss further about this letter. In this lecture, give you a little bit information about, just a little bit information about formal and informal letters. Then I will talk little about its structure, main body paragraphs, and about introduction and conclusion, and about examiner's criterion of assessment. Yes, of course, how the examiner evaluates your success in writing letter, or how it's going to give you the band scores with reference to your writing skill in connection with your letter, which you will write, whether it is a formal letter or an informal letter. Dear friends, get ready for this lecture and let's get started. You know that there are two basic kinds of letter which can be confronted by any test taker, and they are formal and informal letters. So I must give you in the beginning some examples of the formal letters and then examples of the informal letters. So for example, business letter will be a formal letter. A complaint letter could be a formal letter, or request for information letter and job application letters. These are all the kinds of formal letters. Yes, of course, let's talk a little bit about informal letter examples. Letter to a friend, letter to a family member, or a personal letter. These are all the examples of informal letters. Yes. Now, a bit of more understanding about formal and informal letters. For example, formal letter is written to someone you have not met and whose name you do not know. So you are not aware of the name and you haven't met that person. So you're going to write down a formal letter for that person who is unknown to you so far, and you are not aware of the name of that particular person whom you're going to write down. And so it's beginning at or opening and closing would be like this. For example, you would start your letter with Dear Sir, Dear Madam, or Dear Sir / Madam. Or you would write down at the end, yours faithfully or yours sincerely. Now, something about informal letter, the basic understanding. We'll be having further detailed lectures about formal and informal letters, after a while. But now, in this lecture, we are just doing a little bit about formal and informal letters. We are trying to dig out their reality, and we are trying to understand the basics or fundamentals. So informal letter is written to someone you know well. For example, your friend, your neighbor, your classmates, your family members. You have a lot of understanding about them, so you'll be writing an informal letter to these persons and whose first name you know and use. So for starting your letter, you will write down, for example, Dear Manahil, Dear Usman, Dear Mikhail, and you'll be closing your letter with, for example, best regards and best wishes. So it's informal letter, beginning, opening, and ending. So I would like to just give you some sentences rather, which can be very conducive for you to write down in the closing lines of your formal and informal letter. So they are pet sentences. You better just memorize them. They are very important lines. So I would just give you and just write it down. So the formal letter ending note would be like this. If you require any further information, please do not hesitate to contact me. Full stop. Thanking you in advance for your help or consideration. So one word can be used, either help or consideration. Comma, I look forward to hearing from you soon. These are the pet sentences which ought to be written in the closing lines of every formal letter. Now, something about informal letter. What are those ending notes or ending note or ending lines? If you need to know anything else, comma, just get in touch with me as soon as you can. Full stop. Thanks a lot for your help or consideration, and I hope to hear from you soon. Yes, sir. My dear friends, these are very conducive lines which can be used in every formal and informal letter when you're going to close down those letters. Now, sign off is really important, as we have talked about early on. So you must end your letter with signing off properly. And if you fail to include the sign off, you will lose marks. Formal sign off would be yours faithfully, yours sincerely. And informal sign off would be, regards or best wishes. Now, second part of today's lecture would be about letter structure. You know that everything has got, part, task 1 and similarly task 2 of your writing. They've got beginning, that's known as introduction, body paragraphs, and then conclusion. Similarly, in letter, you're going to adopt the same technique: introduction, body paragraphs, and conclusion. So let's get started and try to understand how you can write down your introduction. You know that introduction with paraphrasing is possible, or it's desired, or rather examiner's point of view, it would be very nice if you start paraphrasing the question which has been given to you, the letter question, I mean to say, that you start with the paraphrasing it. You start your introduction by paraphrasing the question statement, yes, and the passage which is given to you is restated by the test taker, or the question which is under consideration, it is rephrased or paraphrased. It will be very good in order to impress the examiner, and it will impress the examiner in a way that it will give him the understanding that you know about the question, and your range of grammar and your range of vocabulary will be known to him, which is different to the actual question. So you gotta give an impression to the examiner. You've got the question and you know about the alternative words or about the substitute words, or known as synonyms. And that paraphrasing is important in all modules of IELTS: listening, speaking, reading, writing, respectively. It's really very conducive part or important part of all the modules. So similarly, in writing the introduction of your letter, paraphrasing is important. Then about the body paragraphs, about generally these kind of questions have got 2 body paragraphs, but they can extend to 2, 3 and 4 even. So it depends how you're going to write down, what arguments you are propounding, and what is your technique of writing. So it's important to structure your thoughts cohesively in both ideas and grammar. You must be using certain linkers or linking phrases or discourse markers if it is relevant, and the body should be having ideally 3 paragraphs, or maybe if you are writing 2 body paragraphs, it's also okay, there's no problem in it. And something about conclusion now. The conclusion will be 1 or 2 sentences in length, not more than that. Depending on the letter type, it should include some reference to the topic of the letter and explain what outcome you want from this letter. It's good to explain, to give a bit of touch at the end, what actually is the result you are looking forward to from the authorities whom you're writing. And now the third part is the criterion assessment. The examiners keep in mind 4 key features while analyzing or marking your writing task 1. What are those? Number 1 is, like task 2, task achievement. As it is very much clear from its name that to what extent you are capable of achieving your task. How do you address all the parts of the question very intelligently? This is going to be very crucial, because if you have presented the purpose of the letter clearly enough, it's going to give you a credit, or examiner will be happy that you have responded the question very intelligently, and you have smartly tackled all the bullet points in question. You know that there are 3 bullet points. All the bullet points should be tackled very smartly, and the limit should be 170 to 180 words. Although they demand that it should be at least of 150 words, but if you're gonna write down 170, 180 words, it's even very ideal kind of word limit. Now something about the structure of the letter. That is, you can say that coherence and cohesion. So it should be a unified whole, or it should be ideally organized, and you should be using at least 3 paragraphs. Yes, each one having or covering its own purpose. 3 paragraphs at least, and they can extend to 4 or 5 paragraphs totally as far as the IELTS writing task 1 letter writing is concerned. Now something about the lexical resource, the vocabulary. It's also having a bit of range of it. You should not be repeating the words, because the repetition of the words causes a very bad impression. So this criterion looks to see what if you have used an adequate range of vocabulary accurately and appropriately. Yes, you should be using a lot of vocabulary, but relevant to the topic in question. And last but not the least is the grammatical range and accuracy. Grammatical range, multiple grammar structures should be used. Only 1 or 2 structures are not enough, or simple structures, simple sentences should not be repeated. Rather, the complex and compound sentences should be used, and they should be used very accurately. So therefore, it's important to have the usage of GRA, grammatical range and accuracy. So this area actually analyzes your grammar. The examiner will look at whether the right grammar is used, and it is used at the right time, in the right place, and in the right way. If you use grammar appropriately, and you have a bit of variety of grammatical structures using the compound and complex sentences, definitely you're going to impress the examiner. And simply if you impress the examiner will cheer up, and he is likely to give you good band scores. That's what you are trying to and that's what you are trying for rather. My dear friends, I have talked about three major areas about the types of letters, about its structure, and about examiners' criterion of assessment in this lecture. I hope you would have benefited from this lecture, and I'll see you in another video shortly. Upcoming video, or I'll upload very soon, and you will look forward to benefiting from that as well. God bless you all. Thank you very much indeed. I'll see you shortly. Take care and stay blessed.